if I stand behind the camera like this, you get to hear me breathing. All right, so I'm making a little template here, and then I'm gonna cut out the tape and put it on this piece of flat stock. I'm gonna make 2 of these that block that off, and then I'm gonna put a little pipe between that for the transmission mount. There's the template there. Just trying to use as much of the material as I can. Did pretty good on that one. What? Yeah, hold on. So we have a transmission mount now, and I think this thing turned out a little bit better than the other one. Kind of like how it turned out. I didn't really mock it up yet, so hopefully it's not all tweaked from how I welded it. Didn't see when I cut this piece, but it does have a little angle for the mount bracket, so that should work out pretty well. I might end up having to add spacers here to space it down a little bit, because when I bolt it up completely, I know it's going to push the transmission up pretty high. But I'd rather have it like that, where I can space it down if needed, I think. Yeah, so let's mock it up. All right, so ran and got some spacers. I spaced it down 1 inch, and that's kind of how it looks. So that's pretty much the final resting place. Everything is in there hanging now by itself. So let's just bolt it up to a factory GM mount on that little mounting point and weld it on, bolt it up over here. And that's kind of where it's going to sit. So I do have a little bit of room all the way around the transmission. I could trim these or space it up if I needed to. So that should be good. That's what I'm going with. So I just got to clean it up and paint it, and then I'll probably do that around the same time that I paint the mounts and all that stuff. But I did test fit the nose back on so I can start to figure out the intercooler. So I think it's starting to really put it into perspective when you see the intercooler in there. This is just the old one from the Ranger when I had the 7875 on it and stuff before I switched to the twin turbo setup. And I was thinking I was going to use this, but it is a little bit beat up, and you can tell that it looks like it was swollen. So you can see it's kind of curved and it's not really flat anymore. It looks like it started to bubble out. I think the most boost I ran through this thing was like 18 pounds. And if it's starting to bubble like that already, it's probably not going to be happy when I run more out of it with this turbo. And we have some other issues with it. So the opening isn't very big. This position does line up nicely with these holes on each side, but the hood latch will poke through right here. So with the LS stuff, they're pushed back a little bit farther where you can keep a radiator in the factory spot. This engine is pushed far enough forward that the water pump pulley and stuff's pretty much right there. So I'm gonna have to push everything forward a little bit. Typically the intercooler could be behind the hood latch. So what I'm gonna do, or what I'm planning for, is pushing this down a little bit and then doing a wider core. So what I did was I ordered a 22 by 10 inch by 4 inch core, and then I'm gonna build the end tanks. So I did order some pre-made end tanks for it. Pre-made but not welded. So I should be able to make that work. 22 inches comes out to about right here. The core is about here to here. So if we look at that, where that mark is, and then 22 inches comes right to about here. So pretty close to the actual width of this core. This one's about 23, we'll call it 23.5 inch core. So it'll be a little bit narrower, but 10 inches tall. So I'll probably have a little bit tucked down, and then I'll have a little bit of clearance for the hood latch. But it's a 4 inch core, so the 4 inch should go from about here to here where this line is, and then I still have another 3 to 4 inches of radiator space to about here, and then I still have about another 3 inches for fan space. So that's kind of what I'm planning right now. So it didn't really get a whole lot of work done, and then kind of just like spending more of the time planning and thinking about what to do. So while I'm waiting on parts for that, I think I'm going to shift back over to the Ranger a little bit. I want to get the bump working on the truck. So right now I just have a trans brake button. I don't have bump hooked up. So I want to get the bump working. I also switched to a 4-bar map sensor. So I swapped out the LS9 2.5 bar for a 4-bar map sensor. So I rescaled the tune, and I got to get out and go drive that a little bit. But after seeing my buddy's issue with it not hitting the boost cut at the peak of the map sensor, I decided to upgrade it to a 4-bar, and now I can run boost cut a little bit higher, because I had the boost cut set at 30. So if I had a problem, it never would have hit boost cut. So definitely taking some learnings from that experience and making some changes on this. But I'd also like to be able to bump it. Plan for that is to use the steering wheel cruise control buttons, because I don't want to really change a whole lot. I do have my line lock and dial a boost here, so I don't really want to add a bunch of buttons, and that's why I haven't added bump yet. But I decided I'm going to use the steering wheel buttons, or try that out. I also do have some parts on the way for building the intake and everything, so soon here we'll have some more parts rolling in for this stuff. But I think I'm going to start working on the buttons and everything today. So that should be the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.